Welcome back to Media7's special look at the future of television. We've looked at the business and the technology, but what about the content, especially as the boundary blurs between broadcast and internet? Well, it's a fair bet that some of it will come from the kind of people who enter the annual 48 Hours film competition and who are already making their presence felt in the wider industry. Jose Barbosa reports on this year's comp.
In the future, we'll still need stuff to watch, and it'll be made by the current generation of creators who, for the most part, consider lo-fi a valid stylistic choice, as well as a practical one. This sort of aesthetic has arguably no better local showcase than the 48 Hours film competition. So we thought we'd attend this year's final and catch up with a few past champions to see if the mainstream is knocking. This is Team Lens Flare, who in 2007 took the competition out with a film called Lease.
Well, allow myself to introduce myself, my friends, they call me Matt. Hey, bro.
Since then, they've managed to turn the win into a steady stream of work, including ads for Stella and Coca-Cola.
The 48 Hour led us straight onto the Stella film. We got offered that because of the strength of our 48 Hour. And
It was that, I think.
I think so. We had a short period of time to post it, cut it together, and that we had about a week or so. But we got through that because we've done it before.
After we won the 48 Hours, the phone wasn't ringing off the hook, but a few opportunities did come out of it, which is cool.
In 2009, a slick film about a rampaging monster dwarf won the Auckland Regional Final.
My God, it's a catastrophe of biblical proportions!
Team Sinistral was comprised of professional editors and camera operators, keen to have some fun with their skills.
Yeah, when I mentioned that we were Team Sinistral and we had the giant dwarf running through town and stuff, and I definitely got work from it, and yeah, no, it was good.
So how old are you two?
It's a fun competition. We all get together. It really sort of invigorates us. But I would say we spunked the $500 on booze.
Perhaps the team who've really left their mark on the competition is the Down Low Concept.
It's covered in smegma. Sorry.
They're well known for their radio productions and the comedy behemoth 7 Days. Their film Brown Peril won them the competition in 2006.
I'm going to be the world's first Tongan badminton champion. Was hoping to be the first Polynesian badminton champion, but there's a Samoan who's already done it.
The best thing about that film was opening doors for us and getting meetings.
I don't know, it made it easier, I guess, to sort of try to let other people know that we were funny and maybe to sort of have a crack on us, basically. Give us a meeting, for God's sakes.
And 5 minutes later, they won this year's competition, so I had to bloody interview them again. Have you guys turned into cops now?
Pretty much, eh? I mean, if you believe the word on the street, I'd say yes.
So, if we're going to be watching what these guys make, there's a good chance TV of the future will not only be lo-fi, but also irreverent.
Being dead is awesome. I'm not even happy.
Bizarre. And charming.
I wish the lawn was emo too, so the grass would cut itself.
Jose Barbosa with that report. I'm joined now by TVNZ's General Manager of New Media, Tom Cotter, the founder and CEO of Triangle Television, Jim Blackman, and Nigel McCulloch of the Down Low Concept, who you saw just there, two-time 48 Hours winners and producers of the hit TV3 panel show 7 Days. Welcome, gentlemen. Tom, TVNZ quite clearly made quite a big commitment to on-demand and to catch-up programming. Where are you at with that? Where are you on the journey?
Well, we've just had our record month, so last month we did 1.85 million episodes to about 400,000 unique browsers. I guess that equates to being about 40 to 50 years of linear viewing over 1 month. I guess within the journey at the moment, we're now just concentrating on making sure the quality of service is good enough to be able to get it to the people where it needs to be. The next step, you were there last month, we launched the PS3. So it's getting TVNZ on demand, or TV to its rightful home, which is on the TV.
Yeah, brought it into the lounge on the TV. Do you have any idea of how people are consuming on demand? Are they finding ways to watch it on their TV, or is it still on the PC?
Mostly on the PC, 45% around sort of on the laptops.
So they might be in the lounge, but they've got it on the laptop.
Correct. Depending on what research you look at, between 85 to 95% of people are watching TVNZ on demand because of they missed the show.
And I gather one thing that's changed since you launched is that the big content owners, the Americans, are now not only selling online rights, they're insisting that you use them, I gather.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's, you know, there were two main reasons to launch TVNZ on demand. One is we realised users have lives and they miss TV shows. The technology enabled it, and from a business point of view, we spend a lot of money trying to get people to watch these shows. Anything we can do to prevent dislocation from that series, the better. So if you miss a show, catch up on it, and you're more inclined to watch the next episode.
Jim Blackman, one of a number of things that I think distinguishes your channels is that they've always served ethnic communities. Are the rest of us here tonight still talking about white folks TV?
I think we are to a very large extent. The key thing I think that we have to recognise if we're looking forward is that by 2020 our whole population base is going to change. It's going to change in colour, it's going to change in ethnicity, it's going to change in culture, and there's a role, I believe, for television to play in maintaining cultures, and I think it's been recognised by Maori Television how important that is, but we're not taking, mainstream media in particular, isn't taking real care of that gap that's going to develop. We already have families of, say, Asian people with mums and dads who've come from mainland China whose main language is Chinese, and we have the kids that go to school whose main language is English. So we're starting to fall into a gap, and if we don't try and build a bridge across that, and not only amongst the cultures themselves, but also between the Western people, for want of a better word, and the cultures that go to make New Zealand, then we're going to have problems, I think.
How far away do you think we are from a breakthrough that, say, that a Chinese program that actually crosses over? I mean, have you seen anything like that on your channels?
We've done it. We've just finished broadcasting what's perhaps the first major Asian drama, 54-part, 1 hour program from Korea, which was broadcast in Korean with English subtitles. And that ran on Sunday night and Tuesday evenings in prime time. And as a gauge, it's very difficult for a small channel like ours to gauge audience size, but one of the discs that we received from Korea didn't have subtitles on, and I was asked, do we screen it or do we not? And I said, no, we don't, because no one will understand what the storyline is, and we're like 3 episodes towards the end. Well, the phone ran hot for 3 days. What's happened to the program? Why didn't it screen? So there was this degree of ownership amongst that, and I think that is probably, it's given me more confidence in our ability to be able to explore that area much more.
Nigel, the kind of work that you and your partners make would seem to be purpose-built for this new online-offline world. It's short form often, it's comedic. Was it what you wanted to do?
Probably being slightly nice to us, saying that we had a business plan. I don't think we kind of knew what we wanted to do, really. But I think when it took off, when the internet took off and stuff happened on the internet with video and short form comedy and stuff, it was really good for us. And it's sort of when we looked at other people doing it, we thought this is a really good place for us to test things. I don't think we ever thought we would become famous by doing it or become popular or successful, but it was a good way of testing things. It was kind of like our 4-track recorders for musicians, you know. We could do it at work or at our house and then put it up and see if it worked and have a test.
You can make it cheaper. The expectations maybe are a little bit lower on production quality?
I think on the production quality, absolutely. But I think you still have to have a certain degree of production there just for the comedy element. I mean, we focus mainly on comedy, so for us having a camera that does exactly what we need it to do rather than just a handy cam, we need, I think, something that will make it look good so people can get past the fact that it isn't on television. They can look at it and still focus on the comedy.
Tom, have you been in a position to commission much of anything for the internet?
Through the NZ On Air Digital Partnership Fund, we have been able to do 2 different pieces of work. And, you know, Reservoir Hill, last year we just, you know, 2 months ago now we won an Emmy. So, you know, we're very happy with, you know, with that outcome. We've been wanting to do work with these guys for a long, long time, but it's, you know, it's pretty hard to make it work from a commercial point of view just because of the commercial dollars that it takes to make it, and the audience size that you can get it to. So it really does, at the moment, just rely on public funding.
It relies on NZ On Air coming to the party.
Or guys doing stuff for free to be in a breeding ground to get onto TV.
I mean, Jim, under your model, people do make stuff under their own steam, don't they?
Well, I think a very good example of what these guys are talking about is the experience in the very early days of the guys that went on to MTV.
Back of the Y.
Back of the Y. Yeah. They came to us with a series of VHS tapes, probably 5th generation. The Reds were bleeding, and no one would touch them. And we were talking to the guys and said, well, OK, Sunday night at 9 o'clock or whatever it was, or 10:30 I think it was, because the language was pretty hot, and so was the content. But that was a pretty strong hit, coming from a student background onto a niche channel that was then picked up by TV3, then was picked up by MTV, and then went on to make a film. Now, I believe that this type of television really has a future, and there needs to be the area to be able to trial these ideas out. The concern that I have is the number of film schools around the country all churning out directors and Peter Jacksons and the rest of them with nowhere to go. And that's one of the problems that we have here.
Nigel, do you think there are other ways of funding this sort of content for the internet? I mean, would you do something like product placement if it meant you could make the story?
Yeah, I think so. There's a good example in Britain, a company called Baby Cow, which is Steve Coogan's production company, got a car sponsor, and they created a whole series. I think there were about 20 to 30 mini episodes of them driving around Europe. And basically the only thing that needed to happen was that this car needed to be in shot every now and again. And I think if you've got an idea where it works elegantly, then I would definitely do that, because that's the only way you can fund it. So like everyone has been saying, there's not much money out there where you can get straight funding to make exactly what you want. You have to have a corporate come in and say, we want to make this for our website. You have to have product placement, or you have to have somebody like New Zealand On Air who's doing a really good job with the digital fund.
Now, Jim, I know you think that the whole NZ On Air system should change.
Yeah,
How should it change to serve the kind of goals that we're talking about?
I think it needs a real look at from really ground up, because there are so many opportunities out there now and so many opportunities that are going to develop in the future. I question the validity of putting the New Zealand, in quotes, on air funding into things like film and peripherals. I question the validity of high-end drama and comedy. And huge amounts of funding going into those areas where we could be exploring other programming which could in the longer term be more beneficial. It could be used, the funding which is available could be used sort of as a testing ground for a lot of the stuff that's coming up, and for some of the stuff that's got to be placed.
Who would you see taking up this rearranged funding?
Well, probably a reorganised New Zealand On Air. I don't think there's anything wrong with the concept. I think that it's dated. And I think that the methods of allocation are dated allocated by bureaucrats in Wellington who really don't understand what's happening.
So who would be using the funding? Would it be established producers? Would it be people like Nigel? Would it be the kind of people who make programs to put on your network?
I think it needs to be across the board, because I think there are so many good ideas out there that are never going to see the light of day unless there is some funding available. For example, should it be a case where New Zealand On Air funds a major drama for 2 or 3 years and then makes the thing fly on its own? I think Shortland Street's a very good example of this, where it was funded for a specific period of time, then it found its own feet. And how many seasons has it been on now? 18 or something? Yeah. Something like that. And maybe that's the way we should be going, putting a cap on the amount of funding at that level, not cutting it off at the knees, but allowing the chance for other things to come up underneath.
Now, Tom, your job isn't just about putting video on the internet, is it? There's a whole range of the surrounding media around it. How are you going about that? Because I've seen some good examples of that recently. SBS in Australia seem to do a really good job of surrounding what they make with a whole lot of other new media.
Yeah, we call it 360-degree programming, and from our point of view, anything that helps somebody come through to the website to sort of expand their experience with the show, again, keeps them more engaged with the show, and the research will actually do that. So You know, for Go Girls we had the virginity map. You know, for Pacific we had the, you know, the map entries. So you know, again, it's about finding a place where you can fund that to make it work within the production. And it's sort of a mixed mode between a marketing vehicle to build awareness around a show and a way to get people to engage with the show as well.
But it's obviously something that might work better with a Go Girls audience than a country calendar audience.
Absolutely, and that's the choice. Every time, you know, our goal, and we're getting pretty close to it now, is that every time a producer is thinking about a show, they're also thinking about how am I going to lend this to mobile? Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. How can I lend this to a blog? Does it make sense? You know. So it's a...
You ever had a 360-degree commissioning experience, Nigel?
No, not really.
Would you like one?
Okay. Do you... Shall we? Yeah, all right. That's done, eh? Okay.
Paper? Again, I guess we get back to this thing of that local content is actually going to, in a globalising world, is going to be even more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you to Tom Cother, Jim Blackman and Nigel McCulloch. And thanks again to Brent Impey, Ian Taylor, Sam Irvin and Helen Baxter. That's all for our Future of TV special. You'll find background on the things we've discussed on the Media7 blog. But I'll leave you with one seriously bankable prediction. We'll be back on TVNZ7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.